I want to welcome into the program Johnathan Franklin, rookie running back, Green Bay Packers. Johnathan, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
Hey, we're glad to have you, excited to have you. I got to ask you, is it as big a thrill as I could imagine to pull on that jersey for the first time with Franklin on the back, number 23, and you're going out to start that new job? What was that like?
It's unbelievable. It's one of those things where words really can't describe the feeling, or describe the emotion leading up, to that, to putting on my first, practice jersey, to putting on my first full uniform at the rookie premiere. I mean, it is really a blessing. It truly is.
Got to ask you, did you feel like maybe tweeting out some pictures of yourself, or do you think, I look pretty good in green and gold? What was your reaction there?
I'm just happy to be a part of this program. I don't really just be taking pictures of myself and tweeting them out too much. But it's really an honor to be in the green.
Visiting with Johnathan Franklin, Packer rookie running back here on the Fan.
Johnathan, what was it like, coming from California, getting picked by the Green Bay Packers, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Lambeau Field, just the whole experience? What were some of the first things you thought when you were picked, and what were some of the first thoughts that ran through your head when you pulled up to Lambeau?
I'll tell you this, it's raining right now out here in Green Bay, and I know it's sunny out in California. So the weather is definitely a big difference. And when they gave me a call, it was an exciting thing. Just to be able to have another opportunity to play this great game of football, it's really humbling, and it's definitely a blessing. A part of a great, organization that's so prestigious and has great history. I mean, it's amazing. I didn't even know so much went on or knew exactly the things about Green Bay until I got here and until I walked through the Hall of Fame and just learned so much. It's an amazing thing. The fans, the community, the team, it's going great.
Johnathan, any way that Green Bay or the Packers or the facilities may have surprised you from what you might have imagined them to be before you got here?
Oh, definitely. I mean, this is the history of Green Bay. I definitely understood that they won the first Super Bowl and we had Vince Lombardi, but in the Lambeau League. But there's just so much more to it. The history and how they're owned by the community and just how strong they are. It is like the college town here. It's just amazing how much they love Green Bay and how big Green Bay is. The Packers, it's amazing.
I'm with Johnathan Franklin on Sportsline on the Fan. Johnathan, what have the guys in the locker room been like welcoming the rookies in? Aaron Rodgers, obviously the California guy as well. A very veteran locker room. How have they been to the rookies? How have they been welcoming you to Green Bay and helping you get acclimated?
They've been great. Aaron Rodgers, he treats us just like he treats everybody else. He goes on the field and he practices with an expectation, and accountability. You have to know you have to know what to do on your job. You have to understand the defense. You have to understand the offense, and that's how all the vets are. Everybody holds you accountable and have an expectation of you knowing your job. So it's been great.
Visiting with Johnathan Franklin here on the Fan. Johnathan, UCLA had a couple of tough games last year, but two guys who always stood out were you and Dayton Jones. And it didn't matter if you were down by 20 or up by 20. You guys both gave everything you had, and that was just obvious. I want to give you a chance to brag maybe a little bit on Dayton, talk about his game and what it's like to have him for a teammate when you turn around yet again and now in the NFL.
Oh, I love, praising Dayton because he definitely deserves it. I mean, you're talking about a guy who a year ago, he wasn't even playing the season because of a foot injury. And to just come back and have the season that he has, says so much about his character and his work ethic, and his determination. Dayton he's a prime time player. He's going to show up every game, every down, and he's going to give you all that he has. And doesn't just come out, when the lights are shining. Dayton, he practices hard, and he has an expectation. Today I dropped the ball. He said, "Come on, man, we can't be having that. That ain't going to get us there." So, Dayton, he's going to be a great player, and he sees that in everybody else. Dayton is the kind of guy that people become better or become greater just being around him.
Visiting with Johnathan Franklin, Packer rookie running back here on the Fan. It's interesting because Dayton didn't waste any time getting acquainted with Brian Bulaga, and he's on you a little bit for dropping the ball because I'm sure he knows what you're capable of very well. But that's kind of leadership for a rookie to step in and be vocal like that. That's a good sign.
Oh, I mean, they drafted Dayton in the first round for a reason, and in my opinion, he should have been the first pick. He is a dynamic player, and he's a true leader, and he's a great guy as well. He's he's the kind of guy that you want on your team, and I'm happy he's my teammate.
Johnathan, you guys are both coached by Jim Mora, obviously a guy with NFL experience. How do you think that's going to help you adjust to Coach McCarthy and the Packers coaching staff?
Coach Moore was so aggressive, and he always preached toughness, and he always preached being consistent, and he always preached, working hard and being more than an athlete, showing great character, and he was very demanding. And Coach McCarthy is very demanding. He wants to win. And Coach Moore wanted to win. He wanted championships. That's what's important right now, winning and being the best, and I'm happy to be able to play under Coach Moore and understand what, the NFL is like or what coaching staff is like, because, Coach Moore been there. He's been at the top, and he even has his dad, that has mentored him. So it's been amazing to be able to play under Coach Moore and just take what he taught me to this level.
Visiting with Johnathan Franklin here on The Fan. Always curious about this. How much do you get into the playbook? Does your position coach go over some things with you right away? Were you curious to dive into that and learn this terminology? Talk about that process a little bit.
We're in the playbook all the time. I mean, I'm roommates with Eddie, and we're up all night studying the playbook. It's no joke. The things that we have to learn, and not just our position, but you have to understand what the offensive line is doing, what the receivers are doing. You have to understand the defense, and the looks and the schemes and the blitzes and the fronts. I mean, there's so much. Your IQ of the game of football has to go up to be able to play.
On with Johnathan Franklin on The Fan. You mentioned your roommate Eddie Lacy. You guys both brought in to right the ship of a team that's been looking for an effective running game. DeJuan Harris, Alex Green, James Starks, all already here. How's that competition been between all of you guys?
It's great, and as we know in life, competition sometimes brings out the best in you. And it shows a lot about the person you are and the kind of character that you have. As far as not being jealous or not wishing bad things on a person, but going out and just working hard and pushing them, and understand that the best person on this team is the team. We're all here to contribute. If it's, in the backfield or if it's on special teams, it doesn't matter. We're here to make Green Bay, better, in any way that we can. So our relationship is going well, and it's great. DeJuan, I was just hanging out with him not too long ago. So, the like I said, the chemistry between the running backs is great.
Visiting with Johnathan Franklin here on Sportsline. This is The Fan. Punt and kick returns. Have the coaches talked to you about that, and what does the future hold there for you? Because I'm guessing you're up for it, right? Anything to get the hands on the ball.
Definitely. But my focus is, taking one day at a time and going out there and getting better. And being able to take advantage of opportunities. Coach definitely has a final say of my role on this team and where he wants me at. But I'm just trying to be capable of showing them what I can do. And not thinking too much, but being relaxed. And I understand that God is going to allow what to happen. That's supposed to happen.
For some people that weren't able to see you a lot at UCLA, what do you feel like you bring to the NFL game? What can you help out with on this Packers team?
Just working hard. Working hard. I don't know what the season will hold, and they shall see once they tune in the games. But I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna give all I can. And as I get more comfortable and understand what's going on, then they'll be able to see that. But my main focus right now is just to work hard and just get better each day.
Which teammate of yours do your family and friends want to ask you about, and are they most curious about? Aaron Rodgers would seem like the obvious, but I'm kind of curious. Which garners the most attention?
Everybody wants to know about Aaron Rodgers. I speak. The only person I've really been speaking to is my mom. And she's just making sure everything is good. I have a small circle, but I'm sure if I talk to my teammates, they're always asking me, how Aaron Rodgers? The guys you always see, how's Clay Matthews, things like that.
How's your mom, and how was Mother's Day? I'm curious. That just came up, and you know what? I was talking to Chris earlier, and we both had decided that we're mama's boys, and it's okay. It's not a bad thing.
I'm definitely a mama's boy, and I'm proud of it. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to be with her. But I definitely was able to send her some flowers and surprise her. I told her I was expecting a FedEx package, so wait around the door, and some flowers came. So she was very surprised and real happy. So I was happy to be able to do something like that.
With Johnathan Franklin on The Fan. Johnathan, a lot of nicknames I've heard. Jet Ski for you leaving guys in the wake, the Mayor because of your future aspirations. What's a nickname that you like the most and prefer?
You know what? I think the first nickname I ever had was Jet Ski. I got that in 1999, but this mayor deal is really growing on me. I think I like that.
1999, you were about, what, 8, 9 years old?
About 19 years old. I was a young pup.
You must have been fast then, huh?
Oh, yeah. You know, I got the nickname because I used to play for the Crenshaw Cougars, Pop Warner, and we pretty much had this dirt field. And I was racing one of my teammates. We all had nicknames. His name was Goldie. And pretty much when I was running against him, when I was racing, it was dirt coming up behind me like water does behind a jet ski. So, you know, Coach called me that, and ever since then it's been following me.
Johnathan, how much of a difference is there when you walk into the NFL locker room? And these are guys that some of them undrafted free agents and things, but I mean, I always, through the years, just have been astounded by just the collection of pure talent. And some of these guys aren't going to be good enough to play in this league. That's how tough it is. What was that like for you, just watching them on the field and seeing that athleticism? It's not just one or two guys, it's everybody.
You know, it's a total different atmosphere from college, you know, and it was crazy because when I got here, I was just thinking, man, football is football. Everybody the same. We all put our pants on the same way, but it's different. Guys are triggered differently. Their minds are totally different, and you know, you're just smart. You understand the game of football, you know, and you know, definitely guys is talented. Everybody's talented, but you know, the IQ of the game here amongst players that are starters, you know. You can see it. They know where to be. You know, their technique sound. You know, they're fundamentally sound. So it's just amazing just to see that, you know, how smart guys are and how much they really understand this game of football.
Packers rookie running back Johnathan Franklin on Sportsline. How has your interaction been with the fans so far? I know you're on Twitter at jfrank2308 for those fans who aren't following you yet. What have been your thoughts of the Packer fan base?
It is amazing. And, you know, I can't wait to, you know, actually be able to interact with the fans during training camp and, you know, meet them. And, you know, and God willingly, you know, I'm around Green Bay for a little bit to be able to establish myself, you know, and contribute not just to this football team but to the community.
Visiting with Johnathan Franklin. Johnathan, before we let you go, I guess just could you give for our listeners, well, first, do you have a place to live? And second, kind of what are your priorities here moving ahead in the next couple of weeks or so?
I'm still looking for a place to live. My priorities is, you know, serve the good God that I have and, you know, each day get better and not be satisfied. You know, and if I do that, you know, things will work out the way they're supposed to.
Well, you brought a smile to our faces, a little energy in the studio here, and that's just over the phone, Johnathan. Really appreciate having you on, and your enthusiasm and excitement comes through and translates tremendously, and I know our listeners who are all Packer fans are really into it.
I really appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much. God bless, and go Pack, go.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Johnathan.
That's Johnathan Franklin.